Let me start that again. Hello, everybody. Welcome to SnykLIVE. It's good to see you all. While we wait for everyone to get joined in, let's talk a little bit about SnykLIVE, what we've got coming up. We have a Prometheus Exporter community event coming up on the 9th, live here, 5 p.m. GMT, noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific. Please come join and join in the conversation. If you'd like to join the conversation for today's presentation, let me share my screen here. I'll show you how to do that. If I can get that to share. I see what I'm doing. Sorry. Technology, fun times. If you go to our community.snyk.io page and come into today's show, right under the link where you can watch the YouTube stream, there is a discussion thread. Feel free to jump in here, ask your questions, make comments. If you want some swag, ask for it. We might send you some. Let me go ahead and jump right in and add in my co-host today, Peter. And sorry, still learning the tool. There we go. Hey, Peter, how you doing?
Hey, Eric. Good to see you. Happy Monday.
Happy Monday to you. So Peter and I are developer advocates. I'm with Snyk, obviously. Peter with Docker. You want to give yourself a quick introduction, Peter?
Yeah, sure. Like Eric said, I'm on the developer advocate team here at Docker, and I've been at Docker roughly 3 years or so. But yeah, glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
Awesome. And you'll have to forgive me with the technology. This is the first time using this streaming platform, so
no worries.
Peter's a pro at this.
Yeah.
So today we're talking about Docker and Snyk end to end, and we're going to demonstrate some stuff for you. Peter's going to show you how the tool gets installed, and then I'm going to run through some demonstrations of how to use it on your desktop, as well as some of the Docker Hub integration that we have. Depending on how much time we've got left, we might talk a little bit more about some of the other integrations we can do. But we'll then hit at the end, we'll hit question and answer. So like I said, if you want to ask us a question, just jump onto the community.snyk.io page, go to the bottom and add it to the discussion, and we'll get to it. So without further ado, Peter, you ready to do a desktop installation?
Yes.
Okay.
Let me share my screen. Okay.
There we go.
All right. Super easy to get Docker Desktop installed. First thing you want to do is navigate to docker.com/products/docker-desktop. That'll bring you to this screen right here. And then you can see the big blue button. If you hover over this little arrow, you'll be able to choose from the different stable or edge versions for either Mac or Windows. I'm running a Mac, so I'm going to download the stable version. That'll download DMG. Same thing with Windows. Just download the installer. Once it's downloaded, it's Monday. It's Monday. We're stumbling all over our work here. But once it's downloaded, then you can double click on it. And on the Mac, you basically just drag it into your applications folder. On Windows, you can run the installer. And then once it's installed, you'll get a little icon on your, either in the top menu bar on Mac or down in its system tray on Windows. But so once you get everything up and running, this will be the primary window that's opened once you install and start Docker. We have a quick little tutorial. Like it says here, it'll take you about 2 minutes. If you're brand new to Docker, I would suggest going through it. It's really fast. You'll download an image, you clone an image, we'll build it and run it. And then what that does is opens up a tutorial. And so let me run these really quick. Should be fast. I've already downloaded this. So nice thing about this is if you click on the blue button here, it'll actually put those commands into your terminal. And then we also have a terminal right here inside of desktop. So we'll go on to the next step and we'll build real quick. You can see it's going to build relatively fast because I've already built this. But what the build does is pulls down the images for the base images and builds the tutorial image. And then next step, we'll run that really quick. And then we'll go to the next step. And then for this step, you need to log into Hub to be able to share your image up into Hub. But once it's done, then this screen will come up and you can open this tutorial in a browser window. And of course that went off screen. But so this will open up your getting started tutorial. This is a great getting started tutorial. We walk through a lot of things here. It's pretty hands-on. So I suggest, again, if you're pretty new to Docker, to walk through this tutorial. Gives you a nice 10,000 foot view of Docker, gets you a little bit hands-on, be able to build images, run images, make a little code change and see those changes in your running container. So it's a real good tutorial. So basically that's how you get it started. But I'm going to run through real quick, just some screens in desktop. So after you get that started, you'll land here on this container and apps screen. And this will give you a list of all your applications that are running. And you can see here we have the Docker Dash tutorial running. You can also stop it. You can remove the image. If you click on the image, you can then see details. So here's the logs output, the console output. You can also inspect the image. So any of your environment variables, any of port mappings, labels, those type of things. And then you also get to see some stats. So it's a good place to look if things seem to be running slow, or you're just curious about how much CPU or memory usage your container is using. And then one more quick screen is the images. This will show you local images that you have on your local desktop. And then it'll also tell you if they're in use. You can start, you can run a container, you can set up different ports, host paths, those type of things, your volumes, all kinds of stuff, and then run your image. And then real quick, let's take a look at the remote repository. So I'm already logged in the Hub. So if you clicked on a remote repository and you're not logged in yet, you just log in the Hub, and then that'll show you all your repositories you have up on Hub. You can pick your different repositories. So I can look at my Ronin.js, which is a Node JavaScript little library that I've written. And you can see all your images with tags. Nice, cool little feature I wanted to show real quick. So if you have, sorry, jumping around a little bit. If you have image scanning going on, vulnerability scanning turned on in Hub for your repository, you'll see the vulnerabilities here in your list locally. So if you click on those, that'll take you directly in the Hub, and you can get a more detailed view of those. But there we go. That's a 10,000 foot whirlwind tour of Docker Desktop. Again, just go to, sorry, there we go. Just go to products/Docker-desktop. Pull the little drop down, choose either Mac OS or Windows, and whether you want the stable or edge release. Download it, click it in, get installed, and run through that tutorial. All right. Let me stop sharing, kick it back over to you, Eric.
That's awesome. Thanks, Pete.
Yeah.
So like you said, that works for Windows as well. It's pretty much a similar install over there, if I remember correctly, right?
That's correct. That's correct. Pretty much a double click after you download, follow the steps, and then you'll find a little whale in your system tray.
Cool. So once you have Docker installed and you've learned how, you're building your images, and you want to now learn, want to figure out, I want to make sure I'm not putting any vulnerabilities into these images that I'm building. One of the cool things we've done with Docker is embed the Snyk container test vulnerability scanner right into the Docker Desktop tool. Let me share my screen and see if we can get a demo of that. Okay, so here we have a very simple Docker file. I'm going to go ahead and start it to build while we talk about what's in it. So this is it's a Java, it's a dropped wizard app, if you're familiar with that framework. We're starting from Maven 3 on JDK 8. And as we go through these steps, you can see it's doing the standard thing you would do as a developer building up your image. I'm going to create a web app directory. I'm going to move my POM file in. I'm going to pull my dependencies and then build the full app. We divide this out here. It's kind of a trick I've always done in Docker to, if I don't change my POM file, if I'm just changing source code, which is usually what you're doing most of the time, Docker is intelligent enough as it builds the image, it's going to skip that step and use a cached copy of all of my local Maven repository stuff. So it comes down here, builds the image. We add a few pieces of metadata about what this will need, and then we've got the startup for the server. I'm not going to run this because it's pointless. It's just a hello world app. But we now have an image, and that's what we wanted to get to. So if I pull my list of images, and aside from some system images here, there it is. Dropwiz main, tag name main. I'm going to go ahead and push that out to Docker Hub for now. We'll look at it in a minute. That should be cached because I've done most of this already in demos. But anyone who's looked at this before is going to say, well, you've got Maven in your image. That doesn't, you really wouldn't want to deploy that. But let's do a scan of it anyway. To do the scanning with the Docker Desktop tool, you just need to use the scan subcommand and then use the name, copy it from here, get my mouse to work. I'm also going to feed it an argument to tell it this is the Docker file that built this image. What's happening in the background, if you've used Snyk's tool before, it's an NPM-based tool. There's a subcommand Snyk container test, and it's doing that behind the scenes for you. You don't have to install Snyk at all in this case. Docker has it baked in, and it's analyzing all the dependencies for this image. And next, it's going to go out to our vulnerability database, pull the latest vulnerabilities, and compare what it sees in this image to those vulnerabilities. This takes just a moment. As you saw when Pete was showing off the dashboard where you could look at your remote repositories, that was showing vulnerability data as well. That's coming straight from Docker Hub, and we'll get to that in a minute. So we see we found 111 issues, and I could scroll back through and look at all of the different issues found. But like I said earlier, this is a Maven-based starting base image, not really what we would want to do. So I'm not going to worry too much about this. In fact, it says there's no recommendation for better because, you shouldn't be shipping Maven as a production image anyway. What I'm going to do first is I want to get Maven out of here. So I'm going to switch. I've already done this. So I'm going to switch over to another branch where I've made some changes. So if you've not seen a multi-stage build in Docker before, this is basically splitting this into two separate stages to the Docker file. We start with labeling the first one as build. We do the same thing we were doing before up to the point where the application is complete. Then we start a second stage. So you see a second from line here. And we're starting just from OpenJDK 8 at this point. No Maven bits are going to be in this image. Now, you can have as many stages as you want, but this is a two-stage one. The last stage, when you in the file, is what ships the actual image you're building. That's the one it's based on. And the difference here is that we start from an OpenJDK 8. I'm making an after, and I'm copying from the build stage just my jar file, and I know my application has a config file, so I'm pulling that one over as well. And then finally, I'm setting up so that it doesn't run as root. That's also a practice you should follow. Making a Java user and setting up all the ownerships and permissions and whatever. And then finally, the same, basically the same startup here. So let's build this. And then we're going to call this one multi. Let's take a second. While we're waiting for that, I'm going to jump over to Docker Hub, and we're going to look. I've already preloaded this, so it's already here. I'm just going to refresh the page. Here's that main image. And remember from the dashboard that Pete showed, we saw vulnerabilities, and you saw these little colored lozenges. These are the vulnerabilities right here in Docker Hub. We have built into Docker Hub, if you have a team or pro level tier account, you get this for free built right into your repository. It scanned it for me right here. And I can drill into the vulnerabilities tab, and I can see all sorts of information about what it's found. Back over here and see if this is done. This is done. So push this one up. Again, this should mostly be cached, so it shouldn't take too long. Jeopardy music. There we go. I'm going to go back to my scan command, and I'm just going to change. Oops. I'm going to change my tag to multi, and we'll look at this scan result. Now, what's interesting here, honestly, is that yes, I got rid of the Maven bits for my my final image, which is good. You don't want a compiler, a build tool in there. But I went to just OpenJDK 8, which is a pretty old version of the JRE, and I'm expecting to find some vulnerabilities in this version as well, because I really didn't do any research here. I just said, oh, I was using JDK 8 before. Let's continue to use that. Stalling. There we go. So now we say 111 vulnerabilities again, and without going into too much research, I'm pretty sure that Maven 3 JDK 8 is based on OpenJDK 8. So that would make sense. We get similar vulnerabilities, which we did. Now, what's more interesting though is since now Snyk knows, oh, you're just wanting a Java app. You're starting from OpenJDK 8. You're not worried about having Maven. Now it has alternatives it's going to recommend. And it's saying, if we're willing to go to a different version, all of these options have 0 vulnerabilities. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to say that, JDK 13, that's fine with me. So let's change this to 13 Oracle. And we'll do one more build. We'll call this multi-fixed. Hopefully it's going to be all fixed. And you see, again, like I was saying, having that POM file, whereas the dependency resolve at a higher layer, Docker build is smart enough to use the cache version of that because it realizes that didn't change. So it's just doing the app build each time. There we go. That one pushed out there. So we can look at that in a second. While that's loading, got multi one up here already. So we see the same vulnerabilities. Like I said, OpenJDK 8, same base. I won't really drill into those. Yeah, that's done. And let's do our scan of this. And this is where we do the drum roll. Hopefully, we should have 0 vulnerabilities now. Where I should have a witty comment to say while we wait for the database to load. Come on. So while we wait for this, remember, if you've got any questions or comments, feel free to add them to the discussion feed over at community.snyk.io, and we'll get to those at the end of the call. There we go. And it has found no vulnerable paths. So that actually did do exactly what we wanted to. We have 0 vulnerabilities added by our base image, and we can confirm that if we come over to Docker Hub. We look at our multi-fixed. I'm going to refresh this to make sure we're looking at the latest. Let's go up to vulnerabilities. We see no vulnerabilities. So you see how not only can you scan here in Docker Hub, which is great, but you can also scan right there on your desktop and not have to wait for anything. You can just run it right as you would do your build. And this fits right into the same workflow you would be doing if you're using the Snyk tools for scanning the Java code itself. So let's jump out of the screen share and bring Pete back on the screen. So cool. Yeah, it's great that, you don't have to install anything. It's right there in the tool. There are a few other integrations that we have that are kind of outside the scope of this that if you go to snyk.io, you can see. You can actually, we added recently where you can set up the normal, your Snyk account, you can attach to your GitHub repo, and it'll already, will scan your code. It'll look at the Java, the Maven or the Gradle builds and look for errors there, or if you're in Node, it'll look for JSON package, package JSON, all that. But now it actually will see Docker files, and it'll scan for base image vulnerabilities right off the Docker file, right out of your GitHub repo. you don't even have to do a build yourself, which is pretty cool because as new vulnerabilities are found by the security teams, if a new CVE opens up on something, even if you haven't changed it, that scan will happen daily, and you'll be alerted to it right away, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, and I love the integration. Of course I'm a tiny bit biased, right? I work at Docker, but yeah, the integration is awesome. We've talked about this before, shifting it left, right, and just the ease of the commands to be able to find a better base image. Super helpful. Super helpful.
Yeah, I mean that's one of the coolest things is, as a developer, I'm sitting there, and if I've got 100 and whatever vulnerabilities we just saw, it's kind of like, well, wow, what the heck do I do about that? But having that advice as far as here's some options that you could use, it's great. It gives us the same functionality or feature that the main code scanning tool that Snyk has done for years gives into the Docker. It's no longer just a table of here's all the things that you did that were bad, right?
Right. Yeah, for sure.
Well, so I don't see any questions. I'm going to ask her. Oh, wait, let's see. No, I don't see any questions in this community feed. Let me see if there's any. Nothing yet. So nobody's got any questions. We did such a good job, Pete, that nobody needs to.
I know. I think everybody's still resting from all the turkey, at least here in the States.
Yeah. We had quite a bit of leftovers at my house.
Yeah. Well, hopefully, yeah, and this is a very dormant time for folks. Don't lie out there. You're not working too hard right now. You're just coasting. No, just kidding. Yeah.
No.
But if you do have any questions later, I know I won't speak for Eric, but well, maybe I will. Hit us up on Twitter for sure.
Absolutely.
Love to hear how you're using the integrations together, right? How you think about scanning your images. Definitely interesting to me, and I know Eric. We're wanting to make the integration definitely better, and bring more features to the Docker side of it, right? You can always use the Snyk CLI and the UI. The UI is great. Yeah, I have a couple of my side projects that I demo on, wired up to my GitHub, and when I push, I get my security scans all the time.
Yep.
Yeah, super convenient. Yeah.
So I'll throw out a question from the Docker community. I know that Docker desktop for Linux is something that has been batted around. Any insider info you can give us on that? Is that something coming?
I know nothing. I know nothing. But I was funny. I was talking to my son the other day, and what were we watching? I think The Mandalorian. Quick side note, but and something he said, yeah, if I ever get tortured, I'm giving up everything. He's like, I'm not going to do any of that. I'm
Nice.
Yeah. I was like, well, okay, Brent. Anyways, no, I don't have much insider information, to be honest. I know it's one of the highest requested features for sure. Get asked it a lot. We get asked all the time. The best thing to do is to go to the roadmap, which is on GitHub. We could drop the link somewhere, but it's
the thread for this actually. Yeah.
Yeah. So if you go to github.com/docker/roadmap, that is our roadmap. That's our public roadmap. You can add an issue in there. I know we have an issue for Linux desktop, and go in there. You can comment, and interact right with the Docker PM team. They're definitely in there. Our CEO, Scott, definitely reads everything, reads the comments, very active in there. So that is our public. We don't have like a shadow roadmap, secret roadmap behind that. That is our roadmap. So when you do things being worked on, or we do read that. So please interact for sure.
So for those of us who I'm often at a Linux desktop instead of my Mac, you can use the Snyk tool itself, the npm based Snyk. You just type Snyk container test. It's exactly the same scan. Do you know, is there any, and this is just, I don't know the answer to this. I'm more curious than anything. Is there any way to add that as a plugin to the Linux Docker command?
Yes.
Very
and
cool.
I will get, let me get that now. I'll get the link, but yes, you can install it into Linux and use it right with, direct in the Docker CLI.
Very cool.
it's in our docs. So let me get that. If I could spell Docker correctly, you'd think I could type that easily. Oh, and you have
So
to.
I've been at Snyk for a couple months now, and I still misspell Snyk when I'm typing. My fingers want to type sync every time.
That's exactly what I just did when I was trying to search for it. Okay, where are you at here? This is
and we'll be sure to make sure this gets into the thread at the Snyk community site too. In fact, if any of you are watching this delay, recorded after the fact, join the thread after the fact. We will monitor that, and if you have questions, we'll come back in the thread and answer them. Or if you have ideas for future shows that you want, related to this or otherwise, comment away. We'd love to hear from you. We'd love to know what's working for you in your container scanning. What we could do better. Honestly, it'd be awesome.
Where did you go?
Well,
let me find it, and then
we'll get it. We'll get it on there.
Yes, but you definitely can. You definitely can.
Very cool. Very cool. Well, we are coming up on the half hour, and since I don't think I've seen any questions come in, we'll go. I think we can go ahead and wrap this up. I just want to give a reminder again, for those of you that joined late, we do have another session coming up on December 9th, where we will be doing the Prometheus Exporter. The community will be coming in to talk about that. That's going to be at 5 GMT, 12 Eastern, 9 Pacific on the 9th. And we'll have Casper and Bjorn coming in to do that. And with that,
I know one thing, Eric. Sorry, right at the end. I was gonna say make sure everybody logs in from the Docker. Do a Docker scan login --login, and create your free Snyk account, and that gives you, I think, 200 scans a month.
I think that's right. Yeah. Yep. The Snyk accounts are free. You can do that, and it greatly increases the number of scans you can do over the anonymous account. That's absolutely correct. Yeah.
Cool. Well, thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Thanks for your time, and I'm gonna let you go back to finish recovering from Thanksgiving.
Yeah, I'm definitely having a turkey sandwich for lunch here.
I'm kind of burned out on them by now. Actually, we had so just totally unrelated to anything Snyk for that. We do 2 turkeys every year. We do I deep fry one, and then we do a baked one because my wife likes to have drippings for gravy. And so this year, because of COVID, we just did our direct family. We didn't go anywhere. We got so much turkey.
Yeah. And you still did 2.
We still did we did a little tiny one for the other. Yeah.
Right. Well, you got to fry one. I haven't fried one. It's mandatory, I believe, here in the southern part of the United States.
Been doing it for like 20 years.
Yeah. Yeah, that's awesome. Awesome.
Well, great. Well, on that note, thank you all for watching, and for those of you in the future watching, thank you for watching the recording. Put those questions up on the community Slack or community Slack. See, look at me. Community channel on the community.snyk.io. And for everybody, have a great rest of your day.
Awesome. Thanks, everybody.